I've been having a lot of fun engraving with the WeCreate Lumis. This new small portable laser is so much fun to use, and although it's small, it can do so many things. So we're going to talk about what this machine can do, and then I'll walk you through a step-by-step tutorial on how to engrave metal pendants. If we're just meeting right now, hi, my name is Nisha. Welcome to Little Craft Nest. The WeCreate Lumis just happens to come in my favorite color, purple, which I love. It's small, it's portable. So if you enjoy participating in craft shows, you can totally take this machine with you and engrave on the spot. How cool is that? And I'm sure this machine will draw a crowd. People will want to see how it works, and they'll be eager to get their personalized gift. This machine is also fairly simple to set up, so if you're taking it with you, you're not going to spend a lot of time setting the machine up. This machine can be vented out of a window, and that is what I do since my computer and my machine are sitting right next to a window. Or you can purchase a separate fume extractor so that you're able to use this machine wherever you are. There are also several accessories you can get for the WeCreate Lumis. You can get a rotary attachment so that you're able to do cups and tumblers. You can purchase a slide extension, which allows you to cut and engrave larger items, which can also be used in combination with the rotary tool so that you can even do long cylinder items such as a baseball bat. You can also take the laser right out of this machine and attach a larger protective cone to it so that you're able to engrave anywhere, whether you want to engrave on a wall or even on a desk. Now, I don't have any of those fancy attachments, but the WeCreate Lumis, just on its own, can still do a pile of different projects. And the best part about this machine is that it's not just one laser, there are two lasers inside, and it's easy to switch back and forth between the two of them. So there's a 3-watt infrared laser as well as a 10-watt diode laser. So typically you would use the 3-watt infrared laser on deep engravings on uncoated metals, and you would use the 10-watt diode laser for other projects such as wood and fabric and coated metals. So here's some items that I made with the 10-watt diode laser. I engraved this slate coaster, which I actually needed for my desk, and then I made a faux leather patch. And here is some testing I did with some wood engraving. The first project I'm going to walk you through is how to engrave these cute little dog tags. WeCreate sent along a few sample materials, and this is one of them. This is coated aluminum. So we're going to test out the 10-watt diode laser with this material. The Lumis comes with 2 different plates for the bottom of the machine. So this one with the slots in it, that one is for cutting. And then any engraving you do, you'll want to use this one here. It also comes with these corner pieces that you can mount onto your square here so that you can line up your designs and make sure your material is straight. You don't have to use these are just optional. Before you begin, make sure you have downloaded the WeCreate Lumis software, and then we're going to start a new project. Then you'll need to connect your machine to the computer. So turn on the Lumis. And you can either connect it using USB or Wi-Fi. To connect to your machine, go up to the top right-hand corner and click on Devices. And I'm using USB today, so I'm gonna select that. And you'll see a green dot at the top when your machine is connected. Now, if you're having trouble getting your machine to connect, WeCreate has a number of troubleshooting tips on their website, so go check those out. We're going to be using the blue light for this project, so make sure blue light is selected. Before you begin, make sure you take off the lens cap. And then I'm going to place my dog tag in the machine. You'll notice that there are 2 laser lights here. We've got a red one and a blue one. And as I bring my material up, you can see them separating there. And we want these lights to overlap each other. So you can either press autofocus on your screen, you can hold down the autofocus on the back of your screen, or you can manually turn the focus knob. So if you manually turn the knob, you just turn it until you see those dots overlapping. So right now they're further apart. If I turn it the other way, you'll see them coming close together. And when they are lined up, you are good to go. You'll also want to make sure your crafting blank is in the center. So I'm not going to go over all the features of everything in the program today. We're just going to make a simple design. So we're going to go over to text, and I'm just going to type out a dog's name. We're going to type out Yoshi, and let's change the font of this as well. So at the top under font, you can scroll down and pick one you like. I'm going to use this one here, and this is rather large, so we're going to shrink this down here. Now, if I were to leave the name like this, the Lumis would just engrave the outline here. But if you want it all filled in, so you have a nice deep engraving, what you're going to do is go over to the right-hand side and click on Fill Engrave, and that will give you solid letters on your design. So we do need to select the material we are using before we engrave this. So under Material, click on Select Material. We are doing metal, and we are doing green coated aluminum. Now there is no green here, but there is a blue, so we're going to click on that one. And then click on the name again, so it's highlighted, and you'll have a preview here of what the engraving will look like. Now keep in mind, this is blue, even though we're working with green, so you just want to kind of pick something that's close. So if you wanted the color completely gone, you would probably pick something down here. If you still wanted a little bit of color, you might want to pick one of these ones over here. Let's try this here with the speed of 158 and power of 78. I have not used this material before, so I don't know what the final product will look like. That's why it is important to test your materials if you are looking for a specific look. So let's go with this one here. And one thing I also forgot to do is select the thickness of this material. So we're going to say the thickness is 1 millimeter. I'm just guessing here because I don't know 100% for sure, but I think that's close enough. Then you're probably wondering, how do you know if this is going to go onto your dog chain? Now, WeCreate just refreshed itself, but if your machine did not refresh itself, what you can do is click on the refresh button right at the top. So our machine has a built-in camera, which is super cool. So now we can see the dog tag that we put underneath the laser. And if you go and move your dog tag around at all during this process, after you do that, just press refresh once again. Make sure those two dots are lined up, click confirm, and your photo will adjust. So now we can grab our text here and we can make it fit on our dog tag. So you can make it big or small. Now, if you wanted to lock the position of your text, you could go up to the top left here and click on that lock. But I like stretching my text in both directions so that I know it's going to look good on this dog tag. All right, so that is looking pretty good. I'm very happy with that. Now there's another way to double check to make sure your engraving is appearing on the right spot of your material. We can go down at the bottom here and click on framing. So you'll see a blue light on top of your material, and that's where the engraving will appear on your blank. So if you're not liking the position of where your engraving will appear, this is a good time to adjust your blank and you can move it around. Now, if you have this protective cover shut like this, you're not going to be able to see that blue light. So you do need to have it open if you're using the framing feature. To stop the framing, all you have to do is press pause on your computer. Then when you're happy with everything, pull down that protective cover and then press start. Now here you have the opportunity again to look at the framing. So you can press rectangular framing here and you can see where your image will appear. We just did that, so we don't need to do that again. So this looks like it's going to take about 24 seconds. So we're going to press send and watch the engraving happen. Now, once your engraving is complete, your machine will run for a little longer just to extract all the fumes from the machine. So make sure it does that before you open up your machine. And there is our dog tag. Look how cute this is. Oh, I just love it. For our next project, we're going to engrave on a stainless steel pendant, and this is uncoated. So this time we're going to use the 3-watt infrared laser. So that is the red light. And the steps are fairly similar, but I'm going to show you a few new things. So instead of typing out my own text on this canvas, this time I'm going to import my Little Craft Nest logo. So I'm going to go over to import, find my file, and open that. And I've imported this as an SVG and it's rather large, so we're gonna shrink this right down. Now this time, instead of using the blue light, we are using the red light. So let's click on that red light. We're gonna select our material. This time we are using metal and we're using stainless steel, and we have the thickness here set to 1 millimeter. I'm gonna select my whole design here, and then let's look at the preview screen. So let's click on that and decide what type of engraving we want. I want it to be fairly dark, so I'm gonna do a speed of 10 and power of 55%. Let's put our blank in the machine and double check to make sure those dots are lined up. You may need to realign them when you put new material in because the thickness of your materials will vary. And when your blank is in place, you can click on refresh. And now we can see our pendant under the laser. Now, because I uploaded this as an SVG, each letter here is separate, and I could potentially have a different engraving setting for each of these letters, but it would definitely take longer to engrave that way. So what you can do is go over to layers, which is at the bottom left-hand side, and you can see all the different layers here. Now, if you wanted them to have a different engraving setting, you would just click on that individual letter and reset your engraving fill, power, speed, line density, etc. But if you're planning to use the same setting for your entire design, what you can do is select all of those layers, and we're going to go up to the top and just click on group. Now, instead of having everything individual, it's all grouped together, and your laser should engrave this faster because it's not doing one element at a time. So we're gonna shrink this down, line it up on here. Now my pendant here is looking a little crooked, so I'm gonna adjust it underneath the laser and then click on refresh again. All right, it's looking a little straighter. You can also use those corners that I showed you earlier so that you can get your design lined up perfectly. All right, let's check our framing now. So I'm gonna click on framing and we can see exactly where our design will be printed. Again, you can move it once again during this step. I'm gonna pause that, close the protective lid so you protect your eyes. Always make sure this is shut. That is very important. If you were using an open laser, you'd have to wear safety goggles. And that's why I love the Shield so much, is because I don't have to wear safety goggles. And then we can press start on our computer screen. Again, you can check the framing and then you can press send. This one looks like it's going to take about 3 minutes and 12 seconds. So let's press send and then click on the start button on the top of the machine. And look at that. Now, if it's looking a little blotchy, what you can do is grab some paper towels, some rubbing alcohol, and just clean it off a little bit. And look how great that turned out. Now, when you're finished with your machine for the day, don't forget to turn it off and add that lens cap back on. Now, the pendants we created today are just absolutely lovely, but there is more you can do with engraving metal, and that is color engraving. How cool is that? And you can do that all with this machine. So we're going to talk about that in another video. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and I hope to see you on more crafting adventures.